Welcome to class. This module will be talking about demand and supply, and this is a very, very important concept when we talk about microeconomics. And the module will actually explore the foundational theories of demand and supply, essential for understanding market dynamics and resources allocation. And it will also cover the law of demand and supply, market equilibrium, shift versus movement along curve, and also various form of elasticity. And I want you to follow me as we actually go through. When we talk about the law of demand, the law of demand states that all things being equal, ceteris paribus, the quantity demanded of a goods or service fall as its prices increase, and it also rises as the prices fall. So when you actually have a you want to buy a commodity and the price rises, I believe what you want to buy, if you are planning to buy 10 maybe 10 matches now, and you go to the market, and instead of buying that 10, the price increased, and you have to actually buy maybe 8. The law of demand has actually set in. So the quantity demanded of a good or service fall as its price rises, and when um, it rises when the price falls also. This inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded is one of the most consistent and well-documented pattern in economics, and you could see from the diagram. So the rationale behind this law can be explained by two key effects, and this is the substitution effect and the income effect. When we talk about the substitution effect, the substitution effect occurs when a rise in the price of a good make it relatively more expensive compared to its substitute, and this leads to consumer to switch to an alternative goods or service. And when we talk about the income effect, this income effect refers to the reduction in the consumer's real income, that is the purchasing power, when the price of a good increases, causing a decrease in the quantity that is supposed to be demanded. And exception includes the given goods. And when we talk about the given goods, these are demands increases with price due to strong income effect, and then with Veblen goods also, this is higher price signal status. Mathematically, the law of demand can be expressed as shown, which is quantity demanded is equal to price, and this is where QD is the quantity demanded and P is the price, with relationship being negative. And then graphically, when we talk about this, you have prices per cone, that is, suppose a local shop tracks how many cone of ice cream are sold at different prices in a given week, as shown below. You see that for 5, the quantity is 10. For 4, price 4 naira, the quantity is 15. For 3 naira, the quantity is 200. For 2 naira, the quantity demanded is 300, and for 1 naira, the quantity demanded is 400. And you could see in the demand curve that it actually reflects as the prices gets lowered, the quantity demanded increase. So as price of ice cream decreases, more consumers are willing to buy it, showing an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. For the law of supply, it actually states that ceteris paribus, the quantity supplied of a good or service increases as its prices increase and decreases as the price decreases. So if a price of a good or service increases, then the quantity that is supposed to be supplied will also increase, and vice versa. So this direct relationship arises because higher prices provide stronger incentives for producers to increase output as they stand to gain greater profits. Also, producers are typically willing to supply more of a good at higher prices because this prices covers higher marginal costs of production, and uh, may also allow entry of new firm into the market. And for instance, if the price of an orange rises from 5 naira to 7 naira now per crate, orange farmers will be encouraged to allocate more resources to production, or bring previously unproductive land into use. And you can see it graphically there, as it is represented by an upwards sloping supply curve. And like the demand supply is also subject to exception also. And mathematically, for law of supply, you can see it there. And for example, a group of farmer records how many crates of orange, just like what we saw about the demand. But now you see, as the price increases, the demand, the supply also increases. At 1 naira, the quantity supply is 100, and for 2 naira, it's 150. For 3 naira, it is 200. For 4 naira, it is 250, and for 5 naira, it is 300. And you see that as the price increases, producers are more willing to supply more crates, showing a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. We also have what is called market equilibrium, and this is actually the point where the demand and supply actually meets. The demand and supply curve actually meets, and it's it is a central concept that explains how price and quantity are determined in a perfectly competitive market. And it is the point at which the quantity of a good or service demanded by consumers equals the quantity supplied by producers. And at this point, the market clears. There is no excess demand, which is shortage, or excess supply, which is surplus. Also, there is no tendency for the price to change unless an external force disturbs the market. And the equilibrium is determined by the intersection of demand curve and the supply curve. And as you can see in the diagram that is there, so you see that it is an intersection of the demand curve and the supply curve. And then the price at which this intersection occurs is known as the equilibrium price. And for that of the equilibrium quantity, it is there's that section where the price, it is the corresponding quantity, uh, equilibrium quantity rather. So at the equilibrium price, the amount that the consumers are willing to and able to buy exactly match the amount that producers are willing and able to sell. Also, at this point, there is no tendency for price to rise or fall unless there is change in demand or supply conditions. We also have the shift versus movement along curves. And for this, distinguishing between movements along a curve and shift of the curve is crucial for accurate economic analysis. This distinction clarifies whether change in quantity demanded or supplied are caused by price changes or by changes in other determinants of demand or supply. And looking at the movement along the curve, this is caused by a change in the goods own price only, holding other factors constant. That is, when it pertains to demand, price decrease leads to increased quantity demanded. And for supply, price increase leads to increased quantity supplied, which results in up the curve. For shifts of the curve, Now, this is caused by change in non-price determinants, moving the entire curve. And for demand now, changes in income, preferences, related goods, prices, population, and expectations happens. And then for supply, there are changes in production cost, technology, number of supplies, government policy, and expectations. We move to the elasticity of demand and supply. And when we talk about this, it is that which measures the magnitude of change that arises. Elasticity is a quantitative tool that evaluates how responsive consumers or producers are to changes in economic variables such as price, income, or price of other goods. And this can be divided into elasticity of demand and elasticity of supply. When we talk about elasticity of demand, this measures how quantity demanded of a goods changes in response to economic variable. And we can see this in three main forms. We have the price, income, and cross elasticity. So when we talk about price elasticity of demand, it actually measures how sensitive the quantity demanded is to price. It is how sensitive the quantity demanded is to price changes. And this is calculated by the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. And we have the type of elasticity of demand. We have the elastic demand, which is that the price elasticity is greater than 1. And we have the inelastic demand, which is the price elasticity of demand is less than 1. And when we talk about the unitary elasticity, it is that which is equals to 1. The price elasticity is equals to 1. And then the perfectly elastic demand is that at a certain point, price, consumers will buy any quantity, but at any other price, they buy none. So this is rare and actually theoretical. And for perfectly inelastic demand, which is equal to 0, PED is equal to 0, quantity demanded does not change at all, regardless of price changes. And example of this is essential life-saving drugs in emergencies. And we have the income elasticity of demand also, which measures how quantity demanded changes with consumer income. And for this, we have the inferior goods and the normal goods. And for inferior goods, it is when the income elasticity of demand is less than 0. That is, demand decreases as income rises. And for normal goods, demand increases as income rises. And this is for necessities and luxuries. We have the cross elasticity of demand, which is the final for the elasticity of demand, and it measures how quantity demanded of one good respond to a price changes in another related um, related good. And for this, we have the substitute, we have the complement, and we have the unrelated. For the substitute, it's actually an increase in price of one leads to increased demand for the other. For the complement, we have the increase in price of one leads to the decrease in the demand for the other. And for the unrelated, it is that there is no economic relationship in that. We also have the elasticity of supply, just like I said. And when we talk about this, it actually measures how the quantity supplied of a good or service respond to change in economic factor, primarily price. And that is why we mostly have price elasticity of supply. And we also have some other which are production cost, technology, or time. And for price elasticity of supply, it measures uh, is a measure that assess how responsive the quantity of a good or service supplied is to changes in its market price, assuming other factors remain constant. And it actually indicates the degree to which producers adjust their output in response to price changes, and is a critical tool in understanding how markets react to shifting economic condition. For price elasticity of demand, various types we have are the elastic, which is supply is highly responsive, inelastic, which is that supply is less responsive, perfect elastic, which is infinite supply at a given price, and perfectly inelastic, which is supply does not change irrespective. And example is a rare earth. And other ones that are less common as types of supply, I mean elasticity of supply, are the cost elasticity, which measures supply changes due to shift in production cost. These are examples are higher wages, reduced supply, and also technology elasticity. And this tracks how innovation boosts supply without price changes. And lastly, time elasticity. And this talks about a short run supply, which is often inelastic, but long run supply are just more flexible. In conclusion, we've been able to look at or understand demand, supply, and equilibrium, and also elasticity. And we've seen how they are crucial. They are very important to understanding market behavior and making informed decision. And it has helped us to be able to, this actually helps to be able to predict market outcome, to guide government policy, to optimize business strategy, and also to achieve economic efficiency. Thank you for joining the class.